Good morning and welcome to this edition of San Diego People. I'm Jason Austell. Cancer is an understandably scary word, and many people would like to not have to think about it. But two local nonprofit organizations are looking to highlight the importance of cancer education. One of those organizations, the Immunotherapy Foundation, builds educational programming around HPV vaccination and screening in order to maintain the current high rates of vaccinations and screenings. Joining us now to discuss why early education on HPV vaccinations is necessary, Margot Stack-Babich. Thank you for joining us, Margot.
Thank you so much for having me.
We were just talking a short time ago about how I think a lot of people, this is foreign to them. I know I don't know much about this stuff. It starts with, let's start with your foundation,
Sure.
First of all.
So our foundation was started in 2015 by the Whitworth family, Ralph and Fernanda Whitworth, who are local San Diego residents. It was started out of an effort to come up with better therapies for patients who are facing HPV-positive head and neck cancer. That was the cancer type that our co-founder Ralph Whitworth was diagnosed with in 2013. He was recurrent with that cancer in 2014. Even just a few years ago, recurrence of that cancer left very limited treatment options. So what he decided to do with his wife and as a family was to start investing in better therapies for that cancer type. And the work that they've chosen to support and what IF continues to support is precision immunotherapy research that's going on locally here in UCSD and at the La Jolla Institute for Immunology.
Okay, and so what we're talking about here is, what exactly is immunotherapy? Is it as simple as your different options?
So immunotherapy, the most simple way to think about immunotherapy is really targeting your body's own immune system to fight cancer, as opposed to directing therapies exactly to the tumor. So you're trying to harness or activate your own immune system's innate fighting forces to go after cancer.
Okay, and Mr. Whitworth, you mentioned that options were limited even just a few years ago. Are there more options available today?
There are, thankfully. We have a lot more work to do to get more options available to more patients, but even in the last few years, we're seeing new and better therapies that are available for patients with that cancer type and other cancer types, especially advanced cancers. But the work remains to be done, so we are continuing to fund basic science research.
Okay, and are you working, can you talk to us about some other people who've been helped through this type of therapy?
Yes, well, I think there are some very well-known individuals who've been talked about on the news. I think Jimmy Carter's experience with immunotherapy was highly publicized, and he had advanced melanoma, and he benefited incredibly well from an immunotherapy that's called Keytruda, which is a checkpoint inhibitor. So there's many types of immunotherapy. His immunotherapy was unlocking a brake on his immune system to be able to basically go find that cancer and destroy it. So in certain cancer types like melanoma, we've seen incredible turnaround results where people with advanced cancers are having new leases on life. But it's still working in a small subset of patients. So the work of not only our organization, but many academic institutes around the country is to figure out, how do we broaden that window of efficacy? How do we get more patients to respond in the way that somebody like Jimmy Carter has responded? Unfortunately for our co-founder, at the point in time where he was researching and experiencing some of those clinical trials, it was still too early for him to get the full benefit. But we've seen such incredible promise, so his legacy is living on in the work that we're supporting.
How important is the HPV vaccine?
The HPV vaccine is critical, and this is a separate arm of the work that we do. So to explain why we care so much about this vaccine. So again, our co-founder's cancer was driven by high-risk strains of the HPV virus, which had caused a chronic infection over many years and resulted in his head and neck cancer. So when he was faced with cancer diagnosis, the more you learn about it, the more you learn that's a very preventable cancer diagnosis. And as an organization, the more we fund the research, the more we try to put better therapies into the hands of clinicians and patients, the more we're aware that this is a really preventable cancer. And if kids get early access and uptake to the HPV vaccine, we could see effectively an HPV cancer-free generation.
And we're going to talk more about that shortly. When it comes to, should anybody and everybody, like a flu shot, go get an HPV
So it's something
vaccine?
that definitely you want to talk to your doctor about. The first line of defense really is getting our adolescents vaccinated early and effectively. So we want to see our youngest kids get those vaccines early. So you can start as young as 9, and you can get the vaccine up through age 14 at that really target age. You can actually get access to the vaccine up through age 45, and it's recommended if you're between the ages of 27 and 45 that you speak to your doctor about what's right for you.
Because this vaccine, once you have it once, you're going to take it with you for the rest of your life?
The studies so far have shown that it's really creating lasting immunity. And we don't have as much data yet to show if will it do 20 years, 30 years, but we're even in the early data out to look at the lasting effects of this. It's incredibly effective. We've seen very strong studies to support lasting immunity to the virus.
And in your work, are you constantly looking for people who have received a diagnosis and you're trying to get them into this immunotherapy program? Is this immunotherapy something that their insurance might cover?
In some cases, yes. So our focus really, as an organization, we are trying to fill an important gap that happens from the translation of very early basic science into the sort of phase 1, the human translation of trials. So our big mission as a group, as an organization, is to fund basic science research and get things to the point that a phase 1 trial is possible so patients can enroll in it. So that's our big focus area, and we see that we can add a lot of value by helping to move that science along faster, which is our big mission. And if those clinical trials are successful, they're in a position to go on to become real therapies that patients can be prescribed.
And can these patients be someone of any age?
They really could be someone of any age. The trials that we've been, our research has supported, I think are probably 18 plus, but that would, if you're looking more broadly at any clinical trial and any immunotherapy clinical trial, there's age ranges across the board.
So, I see. So yes. We're not limited in that capacity?
No, we're not limited at all.
Okay. So the main thing when it comes to the immunotherapy is get that vaccination.
So the main thing when it comes to preventing that one particular kind of cancer, it is definitely getting that vaccination. And
is that the head and neck type of cancer you were talking about?
There are actually 6 different cancers that are known to be caused by HPV, high-risk HPV. So the most well-known is cervical cancer, but oropharyngeal or head and neck, certain types of head and neck cancer, and other gynecological and reproductive cancers are also caused by high-risk HPV. So it's a threat for all people. It's not a women's health or a men's health issue. It's an everybody health issue.
So if somebody is watching today and they're interested in what your organization is doing and they want to reach out to you, how can they do that?
They could run right over to our website, joinif.org. Our email is a little bit long, but you could shoot me an email through that website. Okay. And that's a great jumping off point to learn not only about clinical trials that are going on, but also about the vaccine and about our backstory and our history and what we want to do here in San Diego.
Okay, the website one more time again, please?
It's joinif.org.
Joinif, information as well as a way to contact you.
Yep, we've got all their information about the HPV vaccine, where you can get it, and if you need to learn about any resources for cancer patients in clinical trials, you can go there too.
All right, Margot Stack-Babich, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Great information. All right, still ahead on San Diego People, we're going to continue the conversation of immunotherapy and its importance in cancer research. We'll be joined by Dr. Mark Scheuer from UCSD after the break to learn more about the benefits of immunotherapy.